My 13-year-old niece looked me dead in the eye, holding the $850 phone I just gave her, and said the words that would destroy my entire family. Mom says if you disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice. 30 people laughed. I didn't. Instead, I pulled out my phone, made 2 taps, and watched their entire world collapse in real time. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the exact moment everything changed. Before I go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me, where are you watching from? Because what I'm about to tell you will make you question every family member you've ever helped financially. It was Emma's 13th birthday party. My niece. My sister Lindsay's daughter. I'm a 34-year-old senior financial analyst, and I'd just arrived at Lindsay's house carrying a silver-wrapped box. Inside was an $850 iPhone, the latest model, the one Emma had been begging for on every family phone call for the past 2 months. 30 guests already filled the living room when I walked in. Aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, familiar faces that had become background noise in my life. The air was thick with chatter, too many voices competing for attention. Birthday decorations hung from the ceiling, pink and silver streamers catching the late afternoon light. The smell of vanilla frosting hung heavy in the air, mixing with cheap perfume and beer already being consumed. A birthday cake sat on the kitchen table, waiting, its candles unlit but already promising a moment of false unity. I should have known something was wrong the moment I walked through the door. Lindsay didn't stand up to greet me. She sat on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling through something apparently more interesting than her own brother arriving. She glanced up, gave me a half-wave, the kind you'd give a delivery driver, and went right back to her screen. Mom was in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove even though I could clearly see the catering containers stacked on the counter. Catering I'd paid for. She looked busy, performed busyness, but I saw the way she glanced at me and quickly looked away. Dad was on the couch next to Uncle Gary, both of them 3 beers deep, talking too loud about a football game nobody else cared about. Dad saw me. Made eye contact. Raised his beer bottle in my direction, not a greeting, just an acknowledgement. Then he went right back to his conversation. The house itself was a monument to my generosity. The couch Lindsay and Dad were sitting on? I'd bought it last Christmas. The flat-screen TV mounted on the wall? My credit card. The renovated kitchen Mom loved showing off? I'd covered 70% of the cost. This entire house, actually. I'd co-signed the mortgage 2 years ago when Lindsay's credit was too damaged to qualify on her own. That was 24 months ago. I was still the co-signer. Still liable if she missed a payment. Which she had, twice, and I'd quietly covered it. I'd paid Lindsay's rent for 2 solid years before she bought this place. 24 months of $1,200 rent checks. I'd covered Dad's gambling debts. 3 times. $8,000 the first time. $5,000 the second. $7,500 4 months ago. Just 3 months ago, I'd given Mom $1,500 for what she claimed was her sister's funeral expenses. A week later, I saw her Facebook photos from a spa weekend. Treating myself to some self-care, the caption read. I was the family's safety net. Their bank. Their solution to every problem they created and every consequence they refused to face. I moved through the crowded living room, navigating past clusters of relatives who smiled politely but didn't really see me. Cousin Rachel was there, the one whose wedding deposit I'd loaned her 2 years ago. Uncle Gary, whose car I'd helped finance. Nobody asked how I was. Nobody thanked me for the gift I was carrying. But I plastered on my smile and walked toward Emma with her gift. She was sitting on the floor near the gift table, surrounded by already opened presents. She looked up when I approached, and her eyes went immediately to the silver-wrapped box in my hands. Not to my face. To the box. Is that for me? She asked, reaching up before I could even answer. I handed it to her, watching her fingers grab at the wrapping paper. She didn't say thank you. Just tore into the paper with the efficiency of someone who'd opened many expensive gifts and expected many more. Somewhere in my chest, something was pulling tight, a string wound too many times, ready to snap. I couldn't name the feeling yet. It was bigger than anger. Deeper than hurt. Emma peeled away the last of the wrapping paper. The iPhone box emerged, sleek and white and expensive. Her eyes lit up. And that's when she said it. Mom says if you disappeared tomorrow, Uncle, no one would even notice. She giggled. That sound, high-pitched, careless, cruel in its innocence. Like breaking glass. The room erupted. Laughter. Everywhere. From every direction. 30 voices finding humor in my humiliation. It started with Dad, a bark of laughter, sharp and immediate. Then Uncle Gary snorted into his beer. Cousin Rachel's laugh, high and performative. More voices joining, a cascade of mockery. I stood frozen, watching my family laugh at the idea that I was so insignificant I could vanish without leaving a ripple. Lindsay didn't defend me. She just sat there on the couch, and I saw it, that tiny, satisfied smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Like this was the punchline to a joke she'd been telling for years. Mom's shoulders lifted slightly in the kitchen. Not quite a laugh, but an approval. And Dad. He chuckled, raised his beer bottle, and muttered loud enough for everyone to hear, "Well, she's not wrong." More laughter rippling through the room. My cousins grinned. Uncle Gary wiped tears from his eyes. Emma chirped, "Thanks for the phone, Uncle," and immediately turned away, leaning into her mother's side, her attention already absorbed by the glowing screen. I just stood there. Like a fool. The one who paid. The one who fixed. The one who was never enough. My face burned. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. But something inside me had broken. Or maybe it had finally let go. Lindsay looked up from her phone. Her eyes met mine. And I saw satisfaction. Like she'd been waiting for this moment. Mom's voice rang out from the kitchen, "All right, everyone, let's cut the cake." And just like that, it was over. People moved toward the kitchen table. Candles were being lit. The party continued like I wasn't standing there with my heart hammering. But I felt my phone in my pocket. The weight of it. The potential of it. And somewhere beneath the hurt, something colder began to bloom. Something calculating. Something final. My hands moved without conscious thought. 2 taps. The first tap opened my banking app. The second tap confirmed what I was about to do. Cancel automatic payment to Lindsay's storage unit rent. Authorization removed. Another swipe. Remove myself as cosigner on Mom and Dad's mortgage assistance account. Deleted. Another. The credit card I'd given them for emergencies only. Authorized user removed. Card cancelled. Another. Lindsay's car payment cosigner status. Terminated. The subscriptions. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify Premium. Cancelled. All of them. Each confirmation appeared with a soft ping only I could hear. Payment cancelled. Authorization removed. Cosigner deleted. It took less than 2 minutes to dismantle 3 years of financial support. The voices around me blurred. I watched as people gathered around the table. Emma blew out her candles. Everyone cheered. I slipped my phone back into my pocket and moved toward the kitchen, leaning against the counter. My jaw clenched. My hands felt steady now, steadier than they'd felt in years. They celebrated. They laughed. They ate cake. And I wasn't there. Not really. I was already gone. I slipped toward the front door. Nobody noticed. So I did what Emma said I could do. I disappeared. I walked out, closed the door quietly, and headed to my car. The late afternoon sun was starting to sink, painting the sky orange and pink. I drove to my apartment, went straight to my closet, and pulled out a black backpack from the back corner. Tonight, it had a purpose. I started packing. Not my things. They wouldn't expect my things. First, the laptop. I logged into a private cloud folder. 3 years worth of recordings. Every phone call where they'd asked me for money. Every conversation I'd recorded for my own records, for taxes, to keep track of who owed me what. Dad's voice, clear as day, "My son's like a walking ATM. Just press the right buttons and money comes out." I'd been in the next room. They hadn't known my phone was recording. Lindsay's voice, from a call with her friend, "My brother's so pathetic, he'll pay for anything if I just cry a little." She'd forgotten to mute me. Mom's voice, "He doesn't have a girlfriend, doesn't have kids, what else is he spending his money on? Might as well keep it in the family." My security camera had audio. 3 years of truth stored in a cloud folder they could access from the laptop. Next, I pulled out my leather journal. 2 years of documentation. Every emergency, every loan, every request. March 2023, Dad gambled away $8,000. Told Mom it was for home repairs. I covered it. August 2023, Lindsay's emergency medical expense turned out to be cosmetic surgery. $6,500. November 2023, Mom's sister's funeral fund turned into a spa weekend. $1,500. Page after page. A complete record of their lives. Then the USB drive. $40,000. Emma's college fund. The one her mother didn't know existed. I'd started it 3 years ago, automatic transfers from every paycheck. I'd watched it grow, imagining handing it to Emma when she graduated high school. But I'd never told Lindsay. Because I didn't trust her. I labeled it, for Emma, the truth about your inheritance fund, that I built, not your mother. Finally, I wrote a note, "You wanted me to disappear. So I did. But I left you the truth." I zipped the backpack closed. The sound felt final. Then I drove back to Lindsay's house. The party was still going. I walked in through the side door. Nobody was in the hallway. I left the backpack beside the stairs. Right where they'd find it in the morning. And then I walked out. For the last time. I woke up the next morning to pounding on my apartment door. Dad's voice, loud and furious, "Open up. You think you can just do this?" His voice cracked with something that sounded like fear. The bank called. The mortgage. The car payment. Everything. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to him rage. Eventually, the pounding stopped. I heard his footsteps retreat, his car door slam. 20 minutes later, my phone lit up. Mom's text, "How could you do this to your own family?" Attached was a photo. Mom holding my leather journal, tears streaming down her face. She'd read it. She knew now. An hour later, Lindsay tried calling. 6 times in a row. Then a voicemail, her voice shaking. "The bank called about the house. They said you were the co-signer. Please. Emma's school called about tuition. Please." I deleted it. That evening, I heard a key turning in my lock. The door burst open. Dad stormed in, Mom right behind. But Dad froze when he saw my laptop open on the kitchen table. The video's playing on loop. His own voice, "He's so stupid, he doesn't even realize we're using him." "You recorded us?" Mom whispered, horrified. "Every time you asked," I said calmly. "Every lie. Every manipulation." Dad's fist clenched. "You think you can just lock me out?" "Get out," I said. "We raised you." Mom's voice was shrill. "You used me," I corrected. "There's a difference." Dad stepped closer, fist raised. But his hand trembled. He wasn't a fighter. Never was. "What did you do?" Mom's voice broke. "The cards don't work. Lindsay can't pay her bills." "Everything I paid for," I nodded. "It's over." "You'll regret this," Dad muttered. "You'll come crawling back." "I won't," I said. They left, slamming the door. But it felt lighter somehow. The next day, Lindsay showed up at my office. I saw her through the glass, talking to the receptionist, her hands shaking. Security escorted her out. I watched her collapse on the curb outside. For 3 seconds, I almost felt something. Then I remembered the laughter. And the feeling died. That night, my landlord knocked. "Your family is downstairs. They have signs." I looked out my window. 3 stories below stood Mom, Dad, and Lindsay, each holding poster board. "We're sorry. Please come home. Emma misses her uncle." They'd weaponized Emma again. "Tell them to leave," I said. "Or I'll call the police." Security escorted them away. Lindsay tried to leave the signs behind. Security threw them in the dumpster. 3 days later, Dad called. His voice was calm now. Calculated. "Let's talk. Like men. There's a game this weekend. Just you and me." A trap. But I said yes anyway. Saturday arrived. The stadium was packed. Section 12, row F. Dad was waiting, seats around him empty. He was holding the black backpack. He was smiling. That twisted, confident smile. I sat down, eyes locked on the bag. "We found this," he said, drumming his fingers on it. "And guess what? We know." "Know what?" I asked calmly. "Your secrets. You've been stealing from us." "Open it then," I said. "Let's see what you think you know." His hands shook on the backpack. "I already know. The only thing in there is the truth," I said. The crowd erupted as the home team scored. But in our bubble, there was only tension. "You're bluffing," he muttered. "Go ahead," I gestured. "Tell everyone how I paid Lindsay's rent for 2 years. How I covered your gambling debts. How I bought that phone before your granddaughter told me I was nothing." His face darkened. "Shut up. Let's make it clear, Dad. You've got proof of everything I did for you. And you still think you have leverage. Don't you talk to me like that," he shouted, standing. "Sit down," I said. Ice in my voice. Fear flashed in his eyes. "Or what?" He forced a laugh. "You really think they'll take your side?" I gestured to the strangers around us. He swung. Slow, weak, desperate. His fist stopped inches from my face, trembling. "I should have left you on the streets," he whispered. "Funny," I whispered back. "That's exactly what I thought about you." Something in him broke. His hand fell. His shoulders slumped. I grabbed the backpack, yanking it from his grasp. He didn't resist. "Do you want to know what's in here?" I asked loudly. People were watching now. Phones were recording. I unzipped it. Pulled out the laptop. The video started playing, audio clear enough for nearby rows to hear. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Next, the journal. 2 years of rent payments. 3 gambling debt bailouts. Then the USB drive. "This is the college fund I built for Emma. $40,000. That her mother doesn't know exists." More gasps. More phones. Dad tried to speak. "Stop. You wanted the truth?" I tossed the backpack at his feet. Papers scattered down the steps. I stood and walked up the stairs, past staring faces, past whispers. You can't just leave. Dad shouted, voice breaking. But I didn't stop. For the first time, his voice meant nothing. They never stopped trying. Not at first. Dad's calls went from furious to pleading. Mom's texts dripped with guilt. Lindsay's messages cycled between venom and begging. I ignored them all. Silence was my revenge. The landlord called about their unpaid rent. Not my problem, I said. Mom sent a photo of them sitting in the dark with a single candle. We have nothing left. I deleted it. One evening, I saw Dad outside my building, pacing. He looked sick. Broken. He rushed toward me. You're my son. We need to talk. I was your wallet, I said, pulling free from his weak grip. He swung at me. Weak, desperate. His fist glanced off my shoulder. Pathetic, I said. You'll come crawling back, he gasped. I laughed. I was nothing with you. Now I'm free. I walked away without looking back. That night, I threw my phone in a drawer. A week later, I found a handwritten letter from Mom. Your father is getting sick. Lindsay is losing her mind. We're falling apart. You're the only one who can fix this. I crumpled it and threw it in the trash. They were falling apart. Good. Because for the first time, I wasn't. Months passed. Fall came. I walked down Main Street past the cafe where I'd bought Lindsay's cakes, the boutique where I'd bought gifts, the restaurant where I'd paid for family dinners. Just ghosts now. A street musician played on the corner. A slow melody about letting go. I stopped. Listened. When the song ended, I tossed a 20 in his case. He nodded. I smiled, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. That was the difference. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Uncle, it's Emma. I'm 14 now. Mom told me everything. The real everything. I'm sorry. I was a stupid kid. Can we talk? Not for them. Just us? I stared at the message. Then I typed, coffee next Saturday. Just us. Not your mother. Her reply, thank you. I kept walking. The sun dipped below the rooftops, painting the sky amber and crimson. I didn't forgive Lindsay. Or Dad. Or Mom. But maybe Emma deserved a chance. Maybe. I was free. And for the first time, that was enough. That's the end of the story. If it hit you the way it hit me, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories. Drop a comment. Tell me what you would have done. I read every single one.